Good, doing really well. David and I have a standing meeting every Thursday to check in on the website for the greater organization of Living Systems Institute. We did not meet last week due to a conflict, and we have decided to put a little bit of effort in the short term towards another project that I have taken over from Living Systems Institute called Be Safe Neighborhoods. So really excited about that. Might take my attention away from this just for a little bit, but I'll be hopping right back in no time.
I'm doing pretty good. We're supposed to get some warmer weather, so we should be able to see some plants starting to poke their little heads up. We traditionally we get crocuses blooming on my son's birthday, which is March 9th. So we'll see if that happens this year or not.
I'm doing well. Yeah, I am finishing up an everyone culture and was working on the chapter where you're identifying areas of growth for yourself and I'm working on time management. That was one thing that I came up with and how I can commit to being better at managing my time. And so that's been like a really fun exercise, and I'm excited to be finally almost done with the book so that I can pass it along. I love it. And I've been talking with some of my coworkers and friends and family about the book, and there's been a lot of interest. So it seems like something that people are interested in. Great.
Yeah, I would like to discuss a little bit with you, Jackie, to assign you a task which has to do with separating the role of the Living Systems Institute promoting this kind of activity around the world, as opposed to specifically working on the Cook and the Gardener program here in Denver, Colorado. And you know, if we're going to raise money, I think you said something about this in your master's thesis final presentation was that if we're going to ask people to support this work, it has to be bigger than just this one little project. It should be taking what we learned from this project and making it available to the rest of the world. And so if you were interested in that, then I would like to assign a role for you in keeping track of how we're doing at that.
I'm tempted to bring up the communications coordinator, though I think that there are probably more pressing things to talk about, like David just mentioned. Um, but feeling as though I can't necessarily fulfill every task that's being assigned, considering everything else I'm doing for Living Systems Institute. But so maybe we can put that at the end of the list.
I don't know as I have a whole lot more to say about it. You know, I am concerned that all three of you need to have a path toward being compensated for your participation. Um, and so that's why that's one of the possibilities I would like to explore for you, Jackie, is that we want to do an outreach to the people who are funding this kind of activity, and say, look, this is something that can benefit our society, and we need your support. And it's going to be more than just this one project, which of course is, as soon as we do incorporate the Cook and the Gardener program here in Denver, Colorado, then that's a separate entity than the Living Systems Institute, and has a different set of funding needs and all that other stuff. So what are your thoughts on that? All right, so I propose that we assign to Jackie the role and the responsibility of investigating our fundraising um, activities for incorporating the Cook and the Gardener project and that sort of thing. And then also documenting how we're going to do about it so that we can offer our expertise to other organizations in the future.
I have an idea. In terms of funding, David, I set a reminder on my phone, I don't know how long ago, sometime last year, to remind me to register Living Systems Institute as a nonprofit on Colorado Gives website. And that reminder went off this morning. And it's just one option to receiving funding, especially from Colorado Gives Day, which let me confirm exactly what day that is. But to get, it's in December, early December. And so having Living Systems Institute appear as an option, a local nonprofit option to receive donations on that day is just one of the many ways we can funnel contributions. I need to give you more information than that, like how much does it cost to register, but I can pull that together.
Yeah, which reminds me, the one other thing that I wanted to publicize is that we are registered with Amazon. So you can use, I forget, Smile, Amazon Smile. Okay, I appreciate that. And so one of the things that will go along with what you're just talking about is I've wrote the last episode of the last lesson of the Agents of Habitat. It's in beta reading now. I'm going to send you each a copy of it, although it's 4 pages, so it won't take too long to read it. But it talks about the form of organization to be able to create integrated closed loop production systems. And I could appreciate, if you do have the time, I appreciate if I could get some editing and feedback on how it's written before I publish it on the website. And then we'll be using that as more of the big picture, how the Cook and the Gardener project fits into a bigger picture of healing nature, producing abundance, pulling carbon from the atmosphere, and reducing violence in our society. So. Yeah, so that's the idea, and I'm hoping to get some more expertise here. That's one of my tasks that I've assigned myself, is to get a nonprofit accountant here in Denver that I can actually talk to about as we move forward, making sure that we've got it all figured out. But see, we're 501c3 research and educational organization. So if we are researching and teaching people about these alternative business structures, then I don't think we have any problem whatsoever in raising money for that purpose. And then, so. Yeah, and that might be a different set of fundraising. That might be the more the Kickstarter stuff. Yeah. Yeah, it does to me. And we, yes.
I love it.
Catch
I
me,
like
catch
it.
me.
I fully support this.
My feedback
I
is I think it's a great idea. No.
no.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm able to do enough right now for the Cook and Gardner project specifically. And admittedly, I've never felt that way. We definitely, I remember the session where we wrote up that job description, and it was kind of uncomfortable because it was one of those situations that I felt I was in where it's describing what I know this project needs. and yet not being able to necessarily fulfill it. Although between the four of us, I have the skill set to be able to do that. And so, I've just been struggling a little bit, given what I'm doing for, Living Systems Institute and Be Safe Neighborhoods, again, a project that we've not I don't think mentioned once, in addition to my two businesses. So it's just a lot. Talk about the overwhelm. And so, yeah, I find myself at a standstill, just not knowing how effective I can be on action items.
And so let me offer to you that what you have been doing has been great, and we're still sort of at this impasse. It'd be nice to have the website finished before we do any massive marketing. We're not going to get a whole lot of interest until we can bring people here and show them growing gardens. So we're talking about at least June, well, probably July and August, September. Right now we're at 2 paying customers and 2 gardeners. Although we just got a request for a proposal, I suppose you would call it, from Bonita Feldman, and I copied you all on the email.
I saw that. Mm-hmm.
And the reason I did the blind carbon copy is I want your feedback, if you have a chance to give it to me, about is this the appropriate way to be. I mean, to me, I just had to explain to her that I'm not sure we can fulfill your request right away because we're still in an organizational state. And we really appreciate your interest, because that's what we really need, is enough homeowners to make our gardeners feel like they could really make a career out of this. So, it's a chicken and egg thing, but hopefully we can work something out with Bonita. I don't know if she really wants to spend $100 a month. She has a townhome or a condominium, so the area that she has to garden is presumably fairly small. And she's also on the board of directors for the Townhome Association, and is talking to them about us taking over their entire common area, which is, I don't know how we would bid that, but it's certainly an interesting idea about that we want to explore with her. But that's what I needed from you, is feedback on, am I approaching it appropriately? And is there a better way I could say these things, and that we're all on the same page on what we're telling people right now. So, I mean, that's what I have been doing the last 17 years. So.
Yeah, I thought that just was.
Right, or, yeah, build a pollinator garden for them or something like that. Which, are we going to get ready for tactics now, or are we going to, or we got to finalize our?
Yeah. And for what it's worth, it's just one of those things where, like David said, priority being website, my plate is full otherwise. But once that's done, I can then return to some of these tasks. But in the meantime, I just kind of feel like I'm not able to offer much of the smaller things, that are needed in terms of communications. So, but David, what you offered is a good gut check and kind of what I was looking for. That helps to know that we're okay, that we're doing what we can do right now, and
Yeah, and I'm
it's not a
happy
definitive
with
thing. I'm saying.
your,
Oh,
yeah,
I'm
and
sorry,
I'm
David. Go
happy
ahead.
with your participation. So, um, and so I will take the primary role on communications director, and then I'll ask all three of you for your support. Give me your ideas as they occur to you, and I will. I mean, if that's a acceptable proposal to the group here.
Hank, get me an intern.
Oh
I
yeah.
would gladly direct an intern if this could be done for some sort of school credit. I have quite a bit of management experience in this particular field we're talking about, and that would be so helpful to just delegate.
Hey, Christine, I'm an intern myself right now, and I have 10 hours a week available, and if you have delegating tasks, or maybe you're looking for a marketing background, but I can ask around in my certificate program.
Yeah, that really would be helpful. Maybe you and I can take that offline and discuss a little bit more, because we've together, the four of us have sort of shaped what's needed. And then coming out of these meetings, of course, I think that we could make more progress if we had just had that extra hand on deck. I know we could. I don't think we could. I know we could. Someone who's, hungry to help.
Yeah, what kind of delegating tasks are you looking for that role, Christine?
Yeah, so I don't have Jackie's document in front of me for the exact job description, but off of the top of my head, some of the things we talked about is managing email lists, helping to managing the fundraising was part of that, managing those communications, advising and promoting Cook and Gardener project, advising the gardeners, just overall promotions for this particular project.
Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's definitely that can be something that I keep in mind, and we can talk more about it, Christine, and I can talk with David about it as regarding my internship. I think there is some crossover there.
Okay. Well, thank you. Yeah, that would be awesome. And again, I do just want to reiterate, guys, this is I'm saying this mostly because I feel like I have my head down with the website, with Be Safe Neighborhoods, a different project, and some of my own personal things work. So anyway, for the time being, that would be super helpful. Yeah, do you think this could evolve into like a tactical discussion, possibly for, the the next meeting or one of our future meetings kind of hash out what that is, or does that remain in governance? Yeah, of course. Yeah, that makes sense. And again, this is helpful to me because I'm probably putting undue pressure on myself to fulfill that role because it is what I do bring to the table here. But yeah, that thank you for addressing this with me.
Yes.
Sounds great. Right.
Sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Nope.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let me start.
Sorry. Sure.
We received payments from 2 homeowners this month. And I haven't gotten any requests from gardeners to make payments. So I'm assuming that no work has been done because it's been too cold and nasty out there. But we're going to get some warm weather coming forward. So I'm anticipating that I will get requests for payments fairly soon here. So that's my update.
Yeah, and for me, I was able to fulfill Sarah Kreider's hours this month through doing a couple projects related to building a garden bed in her backyard, and also communicating with her, and I'm doing that currently, and she has we're still talking about the design of one bed and how it can be high enough so that she's able to bend over and get to the bed without messing with her back, which she already has a bad back. And she had said that she wasn't able to see any examples of using logs as perimeter beds where you were able to get them high enough where she can get low enough to garden in them. And so she was looking for examples of those and wanted me to throw that out there to you, David, and I think Christine and Jackie too, and see if we could come up with some examples of using the log based perimeter as opposed to a sheet metal or something like that. And so that's kind of the most recent update that I have with her. I'm planning on getting some measurements, going over some measurements with her at some point this week, as far as what type of bed she wants. And for Lori, I'm waiting on when we're ready to do a project. And I think when it warms up a little bit, we'll move ahead. And she's talked about doing some sort of greenhouse to get an earlier start to her outdoor growing season.
Okay. And we can talk about some of that, the details tomorrow when you're here. So I'd appreciate that.
I don't have anything as important as what David and Hank just mentioned, but I have been pertaining to Cook and Gardner project specifically, but I have referred the project to a real estate agent who reached out to the People's Bees, asking, it kind of reminded me of Bonita's situation that she emailed you about. I don't know if I'm allowed to say people's names like that without any kind of consent, but either way, okay. But yeah, they're just kind of revamping some apartment complex properties out here. So similarly, multiple units, but with extra land that needs to be garden, and they have a pollinator friendly initiative in place. It's just a really awesome connection for me to have serendipitously made. So anyway, fingers crossed that they I can make that connection between Cook and Gardner project and this company. There's that. Cool.
I want to talk about the relationship between the Cook and the Gardner project and Be Safe Neighborhoods, specifically a project for people who are interested in having what we call a pollinator garden built for them.
Well, I feel like, David mentioned that I'm gonna be going out to see him tomorrow, so maybe we'll be able to talk about it then. And so maybe it's a bit lower of a priority, but okay, I'd love to.
$3:30. Right. So the People's Bees was always supposed to be opening the door to people learning more about their relationship with the living things around us. And it's an
Be
opportunity.
safe, right?
Be safe.
Be safe neighborhoods. Yes.
What did I
Sorry,
say?
I'm the People's Bees.
The People's Bees. Yeah.
But it is all
Be safe
connected, isn't it?
neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to confuse the two. But now we have the Cook and the Gardner program, and one of the services that we could offer in addition to the $100 a month for homeowners that are interested in that, is anybody that's interested in the bees, we could say for X number of dollars, we'll build you a 100 square foot garden, deep mulch garden that has these plants in them. And that's going to be a full season of bloom for the bees. And we have some details to work out on what we would charge for that, what kind of plants we want to include in that. But I've got how many people are on the Be Safe Neighborhood email coordinators list? We've got several hundred people that we could start with a promotion to that says, this is what we're offering. Would you like to consider having us build a garden for you? And then this wouldn't necessarily have to be gardeners that want to sign up for 20 clients at an hour or 4 hours a month. This could be people who are just want to do a gig now and again, right? We'd have a group of people that we develop the skill set and procedures and just go and knock these gardens out, sort of in the same mode that we want to eventually do that with chicken coops and greenhouses, right? But since we have ongoing interest in Be Safe Neighborhoods, and we have an existing list of Be Safe coordinators, and Christine wants to work on that, then I think that's the crossover we need to be thinking about.
I completely concur. There's like it's an untapped community of people, really. And what's so great about Be Safe Neighborhoods and is that it's nationwide. We have people in, I believe, Minnesota, Michigan, I mean, completely outside of our region too. So I think it's, if I'm hearing you right, David, it's a great community of people to tap into for Cook and Gardner Project to promote that. David has graciously funded some efforts for Be Safe Neighborhoods, something we've been kind of talking about and working on. So the ball is moving on that. And yes, I completely agree, David, and want to help with that. That's also where my heart is. I love Cook and Gardner Project too, but I'm the crazy bee lady. So I get very excited about Be Safe Neighborhoods. I feel like I can really contribute to that.
So that's another thing that you and I can talk about tomorrow, Hank, is the details about how we're going to actually build them and what we would charge for them and what we need to do to be able to make that determination. Okay, let's do that.
Yeah.
David, do you foresee incorporate, aside from gardenator, pollinator friendly gardens, any kind of crossover with hive hosting as well?
Hive hosting, well, so Be Safe Neighborhoods and the People's Bees can cross promote each other, and that would be a People's Bees service, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. Well, and Cook and Gardner Project too, there's like a three-way crossover.
Sure.
A triangle, a love triangle.
Yeah.
I just wonder if that's something that I do wonder, like, does that muddy the message a little too much, or, offer too much, or create any kind of overwhelm for prospective clientele? I don't know. That's where I look to you and Hank to ask, of course, pollinator friendly gardens is very related, but then when you introduce, sorry, I might have just turned this into like what I've been doing with my own project, but I just wonder, how deep does that crossover go?
Well, Christine, I think I have one client that would certainly be interested in discussing pollinator gardens, and I can't speak for them, but I think it would be nice. Maybe we could have a conversation, a three-way conversation, or I could set you two up to chat about that coming up. So I can see, I totally see it. If somebody's interested in building or being a part of a welcoming ecosystem, then welcoming the bees too is part of the plan, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's great. My audio's back now. Yay. Okay, so I mean, I see this actually possibly coming up again in the future if, there's something that a client wants that involves something specialized, and then you happen to have somebody on the team who provides that specialized thing, but they have their own business to do it. Like, I'm curious, yeah, if there's kind of a way that we can come up with to do this where, somebody's coming in and like building a cob chicken coop or something, like something specific that's something that they offer, or like doing bees, a beehive, putting a beehive in somebody's yard. So that's, I guess it's just something to think about. But yeah, for now, yeah, it sounds like we need to create a project to define what needs to go into that package.
But so that would be, there'd be the base package, and then if you are interested in Hive hosting, then this is an additional service that we can arrange for you. Maybe, depending on how many bees are available and how many hostings you want to take care of, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So new project, pollinator, bee pollinator garden package. And so are all three of you going to work on that together then?
Hank and I will do the actually build the gardens part. And then Christine, if we can get your, I don't know if you've done any research on pollinator plants, we could certainly try to incorporate that in. And then what experience I've got in terms of what kind of plants we want to put into them. That sort of is. So I'd say Hank and I are a part of it, and then Christine also has a contribution.
Okay, so you guys are going to meet hopefully between now and the next meeting then?
Hank and I are going to meet tomorrow. So.
Okay.
And then Christine and I will meet Thursday probably.
Okay, and then you can just ask for her feedback on that. Okay, and input. Okay, cool. I got that. Anything else you need to discuss about that?
Not for me.
Okay. Alrighty. So yeah, then moving on to the raised beds. How to do a raised bed naturally that's high enough for somebody who can't bend down or get down on their knees. That's the question.
Well, yeah, I think I probably need to, I do need to get the information of what height she's comfortable at, because that would help. I guess when I think about it, I don't see that the height needs to be different based on the material. Like, I don't see a limit to the height of a natural bed versus another bed, but that is kind of something that was mentioned as a concern. So it is something I wanted to get more feedback on. Yeah,
well, I saw photos in that folder that Christine sent, which, by the way, those are awesome photos. Thank you so much. And like one of them was this like raised bed that was made out of logs, and they were pretty high, but it was like, big logs like this big around, and they were just like stumps around in a circle. And so you could sit on the stump and reach into the bed. So that was just kind of the idea that was coming to me as something to suggest.
Sarah already has a pile of logs, and we talked about the alternative, which you could lay the logs flat all the way along the perimeter, and then do another edge piece. But that, depending on the size of the logs, then you're moving it up maybe a foot, 18 inches. And if that's tall enough for her, then you're going to have a better habitat for your soil ecosystem than trying to put that inside of a sheet metal box.
Sure. Yeah, I'm just imagining like, 1.5 to 2 foot diameter logs all the way around in a circle. Like, yeah, there was a photo that looks like something like that.
Yeah, that's our.
That would be pretty cool.
Herb spiral.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, but
And David, you're kind of suggesting a layer of logs with another layer on top, potentially.
Yeah, so a layer of logs that you would build on a Hugo mulch anyway. And then a frame of logs, like a lot of my beds I've made, to hold everything in place, and then build your sheet mulch in the middle of that. And then you're going to be at least 12 inches, 18 inches high. But if she wants to go higher than that, and she also doesn't want to go very wide, which is the bigger problem, right?
mm-hmm.
She wants to be able to reach to the center,
Mhm.
which means you're limited to about 4 foot wide. And if you use great big logs standing on end, then you're taking up a lot of
Sure.
the depth space. So
Mm-hmm.
if we can build on top of that, build on top of the logs, and they'll break down over time. What we need to explain to her is that you're not saving any labor if you have to go in and add compost every year and till it every year, because it's not a habitat for a soil ecosystem. And we can try to build it inside. In fact, I wouldn't mind doing the experiment and see if we can build a sheet mulch inside of a corrugated iron box. But I'm kind of reluctant to say that it's going to work.
Mm.
Um,
I'm also imagining, like, if you did have really big logs, you could like use a chainsaw and cut down and cut out a raised bed in the top of the logs, so that you just have the outside of the log sticking out, and then you actually fill in part of the on top of the log with dirt.
yeah, there's lots of possibilities, and a sheet mulch will stand up about 12 inches all by itself, or wood chip sheet mulch.
Okay.
So we might be able to, we might be able to figure it out without building a frame for her. And then if we're going to build a frame, I think it's probably better to go out of wood and just plan on that wood rotting as a part of the process, as opposed to the sheet metal. But who knows? It'd be worth experimenting. I just don't want to make any representations to her.
Okay. So I can propose that 12 to 18 inches is what we'd be looking at for height. And how does that sound to her? And then also the potential to experiment with a frame and a deep sheet mulch in a more of a metal frame, and we could see how that goes also.
Sure. And then
That's
if she
helpful.
and then we can certainly build that for her. That's the technically building a raised bed is not a problem. The technical problem is getting a whole soil ecosystem to live in that space.
Mm-hmm. I'm also kind of imagining like a bench, and maybe it's only 8 inches wide or something. Like building a bench and then putting hugelkultur under the bench to kind of make kind of a natural wall, and then she can sit on the bench and kind of lean into the garden. But that could be like at chair height. I'm just imagining, rather than like building up so high that she can like lean over standing, that she could just sit on the edge of it and reach in, and then you'd have like this wide space that you could just fill in with logs.
That would be a great idea. Yeah, I like that one.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I like problem solving.
Yeah,
This is a
I like that
prospective
too.
client, right? Who's not paying
Sarah,
yet, but
no, Sarah has been paying in the past. She was one of Xana's clients. So she
has she
understands.
seen the proof of concept on your property?
I don't think she's ever been to my property, no.
That would be so helpful, because of what Jackie just described. I'm thinking like that's very much so what a lot of your raised beds can accommodate.
Well, and particularly the herb spiral, you could certainly do that. And those
Right.
are the great big logs. And if you were sitting on those logs, you could reach 4 feet in.
Right.
Okay, great. That's super helpful. Yeah. I'll see if she wants to come out and see the proof of concept.
Okay.
That's a great idea, Christine.
Try it on for size. Yeah. You know, we just have 2 minutes left, but you guys kind of inspired something. Can I just bring it up?
Sure.
As you guys are building up clientele and building up garden beds, are either one of you, well, and any other gardeners you're working with, Hank, comfortable with capturing, like getting photos of befores and afters of the space you're working in?
Yeah, I took some photos of one project that I was working on, and it was fun to take the photos. I'm sure I could use some guidance on photography at large, but I am interested in taking pictures, or in having someone that wants to take pictures be involved.
Yeah. I was just thinking to myself as you guys were talking how those opportunities can come and go so quickly. Even you might find yourself eventually kicking yourself for not getting those before photos. And from just a communication standpoint, that would be so valuable to always remember. I almost wonder if we get together sometime this spring to kind of build up a photography template of what we should be capturing every time before a project and after a project. I can kind of come up with a solution for that, but I'd hate for you guys to miss that opportunity. And I'd also be happy to come out to the project sites as they're in the works, if I'm available, to help capture some of that too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a professional photographer, but I have an eye, and if you guys feel like we could be doing better, I'd be happy to help with that.
And there's actually two aspects of that. One is what we can use those pictures for marketing. But the other one is we wanted to incorporate that into the base routine of the gardener, where the gardener would go out every time they went out to a client site, they would take a picture of what they're going to work on. And then when they left, take a picture of what they had accomplished. And then
That's
the
right.
homeowner can feel comfortable about not having to be there to keep an eye on, did they really put in their hours work?
Mm-hmm.
That would be available. You could just ship them the pictures. And hopefully, you know, each one has a little timestamp when you got there and when you left.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or just post them in kind of a blog format and just date the posts every time you post some. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would really love to have kind of a like website where each gardener has their own little profile with the projects they're working on, but to just like make sure that they capture it. Maybe for some people, posting it on Instagram, you know, might be easier or something, just to make sure that they do it, and then we can collect that after the fact. But yeah, it's a good idea to record.
I had kind of that functionality built into the Excel sheet, although it's very crude and not the best tool for that, but a very rudimentary like documentation for each client. But I agree, Jackie, like some sort of photo platform. Something custom would of course be awesome, but developers are expensive.
I have achieved a lot just embedding Google Docs on websites, because it's easy to add photos and text to a Google Doc, and you don't even have to update it you don't have to touch the website, right? So, okay, cool. Well, we're at time. Thank you all so much. And I know we're not live right now because my OBS was crashing, but thank you anybody who's watching this after the fact, and I'll try to make sure that doesn't happen next time. But yeah, we'll meet again probably in 2 weeks. I'll put out the doodle and try to announce that in time for people to join us. And let's just do a quick checkout, you know, what you got from this meeting. David.
I'm excited moving forward, and like I say, it's about time to start planting things. So I'm really excited about that.
Awesome, thanks. Let's jump over to Hank.
Yeah. Thanks for the feedback today from all three of you, and yeah, thanks for having me, and I'm excited moving forward as well.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And Christina.
Yeah, thank you guys for kind of helping to problem solve, not only with the garden bed, but also with the roles and responsibilities today. That added a lot of clarity. that was much needed.
Awesome.
Feeling good.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you guys and letting me try to explain my big vision. It feels like I'm trying to like explain something super complicated and it's just really hard to get my idea out. So I'm going to make another attempt on my Patreon page. So y'all will be seeing that post soon, and maybe I can do a better job of explaining it. And also, this is an invitation to anyone to join my Patreon page at patreon.com/regenerative-revolution. And we'll see you next time. All right. Thanks. Bye, everybody.